along with my honourable friend from Dulwich West and Norwood and the honourable member for Berwick-on-Tweed, who gave some very powerful personal testimony along with the SNP spokesperson as well. This is difficult and for some very personal issue to talk about, so may I congratulate members, all members who've spoken today, my honourable friends from Hornsey and Wood Green and Stramford as well. May I also, Madam Deputy Speaker, pay tribute to the honourable member for Croydon North. Members will note that the Honourable Member's Private Members Bill, known as Senny's Law, was predicated on the devastating and inexcusable death of his constituent, Senny Lewis, in 2010. Senny had been restrained so excessively, so unreasonably that he died. Madam Deputy Speaker, Senny's Law addressed the issue of prone restraint and the act of forcing somebody's face into the ground. Senny was not the first person to die in such circumstances, as we know. In addition to my honourable friend's bill, I know that the Right Honourable Gentleman for North Norfolk, during his time as Minister in the Department for Health, issued guidance in 2014 on the restraining of adults with the intention that it should be followed with guidance for children. This is what the National Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse recently concluded, stating that pain compliance was child abuse and should be outlawed. The Equalities and Human Rights Commission too have argued that such methods should not be used on children. It's already been mentioned about Article 19 of the United Nations Convention on the Right to the Child, that governments must do all they can to ensure that children are protected from and all forms of violence, abuse, neglect, bad treatment by their parents or anyone else who looks after them. According to the BBC, these painful techniques were designed for prison riots with the aim to force an individual to comply with the use of pain. I shouldn't even need to say it. We should not be using prison riot techniques on children. What's also concerning, and is the essence of the debate, is the absence of clear guidance from government still on the issue. Although the government consulted on the draft guidance to reduce the need for restraint of children between November 2017 and January 2018, we still haven't received the results. So will the Minister then confirm today when the consultation will be published? Madam Deputy Speaker, parents have argued that with the absence of guidance and the prevailing uncertainty, schools are using so-called restraint techniques against children with special educational needs and disabilities. This has occurred in an environment of austerity, one which has seen a crisis of funding in our children and our special educational needs, which we talked about in the previous debate. Children's services overspending by £800 million in local government currently. It was reported last November, for instance, that council overspending on children's special educational needs and disabilities has trebled in just 3 years. The Minister may be aware that the Challenging Behaviour Foundation and Positive and Active Behaviour Support Scotland released a report in January on the use of restrictive intervention. The report found that 88% of parents surveyed said that their disabled child had experienced physical restraint, with 35% saying it happened regularly. In addition to this, over half the cases of physical intervention or seclusion were of children between the ages of 5 and 10, with one case involving a 2-year-old child. It should come as no surprise that this has had a negative effect on children's health. Over 90% of those surveyed said that restraint had emotionally impacted their child. Madam Deputy Speaker, this included for things like incontinence, meltdowns, shutdowns, situations that leave children unable to communicate as they're so overloaded with emotions. If I may quickly return to the government's own delayed guidance, when ministers launched the consultation, they stated that any guidelines wouldn't apply to mainstream schools. This is clearly illogical. Guidance must apply across the board, not just in specific settings. Otherwise, this suggests that mainstream schools aren't safe places for children with special educational needs. So may I ask the Minister then, if the forthcoming guidance will be universal, will it be universal so that all children are protected? If I may, I would like to now move to the treatment of young people who are autistic and have learning disabilities or mental health conditions. Across mental health, autism and learning disability services, there were over 1,000 young people subject to a restrictive intervention in 2017-18. This accounted for 26,000 separate restrictive interventions. What is shocking is that under-20s in these services are subject to any restrictive intervention, are, on average, subject to more than twice as many as any other age group. There are also hundreds of young people who are subjected to seclusion, segregation, and perhaps most worryingly, chemical restraint. We are drugging young people because their behaviour is deemed too challenging. This is not acceptable. I know that the Care Quality Commission are currently carrying out a review on the use of restraint in these services. However, this will not report until next year. Madam Deputy Speaker, there are currently 250 young people who are autistic or having learning disabilities being detained in appropriate care settings which are covered by the Transforming Care programme. This programme was intended to move people out of inappropriate settings and back into the community. But since 2015, the number of young people in such institutions has more than doubled. Some of these children have been sent more than 100 kilometres from home. Ministers have recognised that this is wrong, but they have not done anything yet to stop it. More than this, the Transforming Care programme expired last Sunday. So can the Minister tell us what plans there are to either continue the work or introduce a new programme to close inappropriate care settings? What funding will be made available in the next 5 years, given that the Government has only committed to funding an extra year of the programme? Madam Deputy Speaker, what happens in early childhood has a defining impact on human development, affecting everything from educational achievement, economic security and health. Violence towards children can leave a long, irrevocable shadow over their lives. There can be no place for it anywhere. I hope, therefore, that the Minister will take the contributions made to heart.
Minister. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the colleagues who've made contributions today, the member